Hey lemon squeezies. I've been putting off doing the blanket tutorial for some time, so I've decided to go ahead and get that out the way. I've got some extra time on my hands, so I am at work. So I apologize in advance if the video is kind of choppy, because I am going to have to edit this and put it all together for you guys. Also, as a small disclaimer, I just want to let you guys know that this is my way of making blankets. This is not the best way or the perfect way. So if you have any comments or any suggestions on things that I could do differently or better, feel free. I'm open to that. But just be nice. So the first thing you want to do is find a yarn that you like, whether it be by color or by texture or whatever it is exactly that you're looking for that you like. So this is the yarn that I'm going to be using here. And this is actually the same yarn that I use for my best friend Dia's blanket back home in Ohio. So hey guys, I love you all. Can't wait to see you. And this is like a thicker microfiber kind of very, very soft material. So this is going to be something that's going to be really comfy and cozy for a baby. So what you're going to want to do is once you pick a yarn, you'll want to look at the label of the yarn. So this is the label from that particular yarn. So Uncle Tony, Uncle Tommy, and Uncle Chris are all in the background acting really crazy right now. So just excuse the background information. Alright, so this is going to be the label here. Okay, so the most important part would be here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this particular yarn calls for a 6.5 size needle. I'm deciding to use a different size than what's suggested for the yarn, but for beginners, that's the best way to figure it out, is just by looking at the label, and it'll tell you exactly what type of needle to use for your blanket. And also another little nifty thing that I use is basically a way for me to keep my yarn ick-free, germ-free, cootie-free, is I use a basic cardboard box. So I've got one from here in the store, and then I use a regular trash bag and I put it down inside of the box. So then what I do is take my yarn and throw that down in there. Great, now I've got to find the beginning of my yarn. But I throw my yarn down in there, and then I fold the box up, basically so that the box isn't going to open, making a little slit in the top. Let me find the end of my yarn real quick.
Hello?
Okay, so I don't know if there's like a particular name for the fold or whatever. I'm sure most of you guys know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to fold the flaps of the box down so that the top doesn't open. So basically now there's a little slit in the top of the box, like so. And so I am just able to pull my yarn directly up through the slit. And the reason why I use the plastic bag is because it's something that's clean, that's on the inside of the box. I don't know where this box has been. And also because it's kind of slippery. So as I pull the yarn ball is able to unwind itself and roll inside of the box. And like I said, it keeps the yarn clean so that it's not rolling around on the floor or on counters or on sofas and things like that. And you don't want to give something that's going to a baby access to all those kind of germs and ickiness and all that stuff. So that's just a little tool that you guys can use to help keep your yarn clean. And it's just a nifty little tool that you can use while actually making a blanket too, to keep you from fighting with your yarn constantly, having to untangle it and all that kind of stuff. So once you found your yarn and you found your needle, the first thing that you're going to want to do is take the tail of your yarn. And what I do is I wrap it over my 2 fingers here like this. And then I'm going to take and wrap it around a second time. Oops. So like this. And then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to grab the first one. I'm going to lift it up and over the second string like this. I'm going to grab the second one and do the same thing up and over, and grab this one here and pull that directly up. And this is basically going to create a little slip knot for me. So I'll show you guys that again. So you're going to want to go like this, and you'll grab this, pull that up and over, do the same thing again, grab this one up and over, and when you grab this one, you're just going to want to pull that directly up and grab your tail and pull to make your slip knot. So what you'll do from here is put it on your hook, and you can pull that to pull it nice and snug onto your hook. It took me a really long time to get that, so don't feel goofy if you have to continue to rewind that part until you figure it out. So one last time. So we got two. I'm gonna take the first one up and over. The second, oh, my tail is long enough. Okay. Up and over. Up and over, straight up, slip knot, insert hook, and pull. So this is the first step to starting your blanket. What you're going to do from here is you're going to begin a chain, which is basically going to determine either the length or the width of the blanket, depending on which way you're working. So say if I make my chain too long, I'll just make that the width instead of the length. So they don't have to be perfect. Keep that in mind. I'm a bit of a perfectionist myself, so it's kind of irritating to want it to be perfect and for it to not be. But in my opinion, the non-perfect blankets just have a little bit more personality. They give it that really handmade feel. So don't feel that it has to be perfect. Too perfect, it's going to look like it was produced and sold in a store. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so where I'm going to go from here is I'm basically going to take my yarn and wrap it around so that I have two loops on my hook, and I'm going to pull this top loop directly down through the second one, so straight down, and I'm back to one loop again. I'm going to wrap it and pull the first loop down through the second one, and I'm just going to continue to do this probably about 40 or 50 times or so. And this is all I'm doing, wrapping it around and pulling the first loop down through the second loop. And as you can see, I'm creating a chain here. So this is the first, basically the first step, the first row of your blanket. For a baby blanket, for the most part, I try not to make them much longer than the length of my arm, but you can feel free to do that if you choose. So I'm just going to continue to do this until I feel it's at the appropriate length. So I'm going to pause this video, give me a few minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I'm back and I've done my chain, and this is going to go from my hand probably across my chest into my next shoulder. So it's a little bit longer than I expected it to be, but like I said before, that's cool. So just to show you the chain stitch one more time, just in case you didn't catch it, from the hook, only thing I'm doing is wrapping this around, creating two loops on the hook, and pulling the first loop down through the second. Like so. Very simple. I don't do anything too fancy. Whoops. Let's try that again. Okay, so this is our chain. So what we're going to do at this point is we're getting ready to turn around and go back over our chain to create the second row in our blanket. So from our hook, this is considered our first, oops, I'm upside down. From our hook, this is considered the first stitch. This hole here, and you kind of have to fill them with your hand, especially with these more fluffy yarns. Sometimes it's hard, or even with a thin yarn, the holes are so small they're really hard to see, so you kind of have to use your sense of touch to see where that next stitch is. So this is the next stitch off of our hook. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip that one and go to the second one. So I'm skipping this first stitch from the hook and going to the second one. And what I'm going to do is take my hook right through that second stitch. So from this angle you can see that I've got two loops on my hook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to bring that across the top so that now I have three loops on my hook. 1, 2, and 3. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull my first loop down through my second loop, which leaves me with two loops here. I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to wrap it again. So now I have three loops again, And this time what I'm going to do is take the first loop and pull it through both the second and the third loop. So second loop, third loop. So I'm back to one loop again. Get a little untangled here. Okay, so from there I'm going to go directly into my next stitch and do the same exact thing. So from that one there, our next stitch is here. So I'm going to insert my hook. I've got 2 loops, 1 and 2. I'm going to pull this up and over, creating 3 loops, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to pull the first one down through the second one, leaving 2 loops, cross over, back to 3 loops, and pull the first one through the second and the third. And this is the stitch that you're going to be using for the whole remainder of the blanket. And you're just going to be going stitch by stitch through each hole down your chain, doing the same stitch. So I'll show you again. This is my next stitch here. So through 2 loops, across the top makes 3, 1 through 2, around the top, 1 through 2, and 1 through 3. And you're just going to continue that same stitch all the way down. Next stitch is here. Two loops, across the top makes 3, 1 through 2, across the top, 1 through 2 and 3. It's very, very simple, guys. Just like so. It's my song. Hello.
How can we help you today? You want to...
Next stitch.
So you need a reactivation? Okay.
So see, it's getting thicker. This is the next stitch here.
Memory time? To take pictures.
Next stitch. So give me a few minutes. I am going to finish this out and I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back. So I've gone over my chain, and as you can see, it has doubled, almost tripled in size, just going through and doing that stitch all the way down. So this is how much I have left until my very last stitch. So I'll show you guys the stitch a few more times. So this is my next stitch here. So I am going to go through here. From this angle, I've got 2 loops. I'm going to wrap around for the third. I'm going to pull the first through the second, wrap it around again, and pull the first through the second and the third. So the next stitch is here, through, pull the first loop through, and we've got the first through the through the second, and first through second and third. We're going to go through the next stitch, over, pull that through, over, 1 through 2, 1 through 2 and 3. So this is the end of the chain. So what I'm going to do is turn it around and go back through again, the same way I did the first time. So this is our first stitch here. So I'm going to go through the first stitch. I've got 2 loops on my hook. Wrap this third around. 1, 2, 3. First through the second. Wrap it around. First through the second and the third. And I'm just going to continue this until the desired length. So that's pretty much it. That's the beginning of starting a blanket. You're probably going to want to do about I'd say maybe about 20 rows or so, just depending on what size you're trying to make. You'll be able to tell, depending on what size you have in mind when you're done. So I guess if you guys have any other questions or anything, just let me know. And if you want me to show you how to end the blanket or anything like that, just post a comment. So take it easy, Miss Cookies.